Larry Bird just dropped a bombshell that has the entire basketball world in absolute chaos. The Celtics legend, known for never holding back, just called LeBron James the biggest fraud in NBA history. Yeah, you heard that right. The man who once said he'd take Magic Johnson over anyone just publicly humiliated the so-called king in a way nobody saw coming. This isn't just trash talk between eras. This is a calculated destruction of LeBron's entire legacy, and what Bird revealed might actually change how we view the GOAT debate forever. The question is, does he have a point? Or did the hick from French Lick just cross a line he can't come back from? It started quietly. Too quietly for something that would explode into the biggest basketball controversy of 2025. Larry Bird, the three-time NBA champion and Hall of Famer who built his reputation on backing up every word that came out of his mouth, sat down for what everyone thought would be just another nostalgic interview about the golden era of basketball. But Bird had other plans. When asked about the modern GOAT debate and where LeBron James ranks among the all-time greats, Bird didn't offer the diplomatic answer most retired legends give. He didn't say different eras, can't compare. He didn't praise LeBron's longevity or versatility. Instead, Bird leaned forward and said something that immediately sent shockwaves through every basketball platform on the internet. The biggest fraud in NBA history. Those 6 words. That's all it took. Within minutes, X, was on fire. Instagram comment sections became war zones. Sports talk shows scrambled to get emergency episodes recorded. LeBron fans were livid, calling Bird a bitter old man stuck in the past. Jordan fans were celebrating like they just won another championship. And everyone in between, they were stunned into silence, trying to process what they just heard. Because this wasn't Skip Bayless with his daily hot takes. This wasn't some podcast host trying to go viral. This was Larry Legend, a man who dropped 60 points in a game and told the opposing bench exactly how he was going to score before doing it. A man who won 3 straight MVP awards. A man who never needed to team up with other superstars to win his rings. And he just called LeBron James a fraud. The timing made it even more explosive. LeBron just turned 40, and the questions about his legacy are louder than ever. He's chasing records, sure. He's still playing at a high level, absolutely. But the championship window? That's been closed for a while now. And Bird knew exactly when to twist the knife. What made this different from every other LeBron criticism over the years was simple. Bird didn't just throw out an insult and walk away. He came prepared. He came with receipts. And what he laid out over the next several minutes was a systematic dismantling of everything LeBron fans hold sacred about his king's legacy. The media couldn't ignore this. The fans couldn't scroll past it. And LeBron, well, he couldn't pretend he didn't hear it. Bird didn't waste time with pleasantries. He went straight for the throat, and his first target was the thing LeBron fans love to brag about most, the championships. 4 rings sounds impressive until you realize how he got them, Bird said, his voice carrying that same cold confidence he had when he told opponents which spot on the floor he'd hit the game winner from. He couldn't win in his first stint with his original team, so what does he do? He runs to Miami to team up with 2 other All-Stars in their prime. Then, when that runs its course, he goes back home only after they draft the pieces he needs. Then, when that's done, he bolts to LA to team up with Anthony Davis. He paused, letting that sink in. In my era, that's not how you built the legacy. That's how you admitted you weren't good enough to do it the right way. And there it was, the super team argument that LeBron fans have been defending for over a decade, now being weaponized by someone who actually has the credibility to use it. Bird won his 3 championships with essentially the same core group. Guys who were drafted or traded to Boston through traditional team building. He didn't hold a televised special to announce he was abandoning his team. He didn't recruit other superstars to make his job easier. But Bird wasn't done, not even close. He moved on to the finals record, that infamous 4-6 mark that's been debated in every barbershop, every sports bar, every comment section for years. But Bird flipped the narrative in a way that even some LeBron defenders made him uncomfortable. Everyone wants to give him credit for making it to the finals 10 times, but let's be honest about what that really means. It means he played in the weakest Eastern Conference in modern history for most of his career. He had a cakewalk to the finals almost every single year, and then when he finally faced real competition, he lost more than he won. Then Bird brought up his own finals record, 3-1. He admitted he only made it to the finals 4 times compared to LeBron's 10, but his winning percentage was .75. LeBron's? It's .4. If you can't win when it matters most, what are we really celebrating? Participation trophies? The internet exploded at that line, because Bird wasn't just questioning LeBron's greatness, he was questioning the entire framework we use to evaluate it. He was saying that getting there and losing is actually worse than not getting there at all. And for a generation raised on, hey, at least he made it to the finals, that was a direct assault on everything they believed. Then Bird went somewhere even more controversial, the stat padding accusations. Look at how he plays in the fourth quarter of close games, Bird said, his tone shifting from analytical to almost disgusted. He's hunting for assists when the game is on the line because he knows if he takes the shot and misses, people will criticize him. He'd rather pass up the moment and protect his percentages than risk his legacy on a miss. That's not what great players do. Great players want the ball when it matters, and they don't care about the consequences. Bird brought up specific examples, moments where LeBron deferred in crucial playoff situations, moments where he seemed more concerned about his stat line than the win. And for someone like Bird, who built his entire reputation on taking and making the biggest shots in the biggest moments, LeBron's calculated approach to legacy management was the ultimate betrayal of what basketball greatness should look like. He's a genius at controlling his narrative, he admitted. But that's exactly what makes him a fraud. Real legends don't manage their image. They just go out and dominate, and the legend builds itself. Here's where Bird's argument got really uncomfortable for LeBron supporters, because he started bringing up facts that are hard to argue with, no matter which side you're on. Let's talk about competition. Bird's career overlapped with Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Isaiah Thomas, and a young Michael Jordan. Every single season, Bird had to go through multiple Hall of Famers just to make it to the finals. And when he got there, he faced legendary teams with multiple superstars. LeBron's Eastern Conference competition for most of his career? Let's be real. The Paul George Pacers? The aging Celtics? The DeMar DeRozan Raptors who choked every playoffs? These were good teams, sure, but they weren't stacked with multiple prime Hall of Famers. LeBron's path to the finals was objectively easier than Bird's path, and Bird made sure everyone understood that. I had to go through the bad boy Pistons just to get a shot at the championship, Bird reminded everyone. Those guys were trying to hurt me, literally. They had a strategy called the Jordan rules, but trust me, they had rules for everyone. That's real competition. That's what forges real champions. Then Bird addressed the longevity argument, the one where LeBron fans say he's been great for longer than anyone else. Longevity is impressive, I'll admit that, Bird said. But let's talk about why he's been able to play this long. Load management, resting during the regular season, hand-picking his teams and his situations. In my era, you played hurt. You played through injuries. You didn't sit out because of rest. We had an obligation to the fans who paid to see us, and we had pride that wouldn't let us take nights off. Bird brought up his own career-ending back injury, something he played through for years before finally having to retire at 35. He didn't take games off. He didn't load manage. He played every night like it was his last, even when his body was breaking down. LeBron's smart about preserving his body. I respect that, Bird acknowledged. But don't tell me he's tougher or more dedicated because he's playing at 40. He's playing at 40 because the game is softer. The rules protect him, and he's had the luxury of choosing easy situations. Other legends have questioned LeBron's legacy before. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar once said LeBron's activism was sometimes performative. Oscar Robertson questioned whether LeBron could have survived in the physical era of the 60s and 70s. Even Magic Johnson, LeBron's biggest Hall of Fame supporter, has admitted that LeBron's finals record makes the GOAT conversation complicated. But none of them went as far as Bird. None of them called him a fraud. And that's what made this so devastating. Bird wasn't just critiquing LeBron's game or his decisions. He was questioning the authenticity of his entire legacy. He was saying that everything LeBron has built is more about marketing and narrative control than actual undeniable greatness. The statistics tell different stories depending on how you frame them. LeBron has more total points than Bird ever did. He's got more assists, more rebounds, more everything. But Bird's counterargument is simple. Context matters more than counting stats. In my prime, I averaged 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. I did that while being the best player on championship teams, while being double and triple teamed every night, while playing in an era where you could actually play defense. LeBron's numbers are inflated by the pace of the modern game, the spacing, and the rules that make it almost impossible to guard anyone anymore. Bird even brought up the MVP award, something that's supposed to be about who's the best player that season, not a lifetime achievement award. I won 3 straight MVPs when I was going head-to-head with Magic every year, Bird said. LeBron should have more MVPs if he's really as dominant as people say, but voters got tired of giving it to him because they knew he was coasting through regular seasons waiting for the playoffs. Was Bird being harsh? Absolutely. Was he being unfair? That depends on what you value. But was he making points that hit different because of who was saying them? Without question. The silence from LeBron's side was deafening at first. Usually, when critics come for the king, there's an immediate response, either from LeBron himself through cryptic social media posts or from his media allies who jump to his defense within hours. But this time, nothing. Radio silence. And that silence spoke volumes. Some people interpreted it as LeBron taking the high road, refusing to engage with what they called bitter old man hate. Others saw it as LeBron having no good response, because Bird's criticisms weren't based on hot takes or feelings, they were based on a career's worth of perspective and specific measurable comparisons. Finally, after nearly 48 hours, LeBron posted on social media, not a direct response to Bird, but a quote about letting your work speak for itself and not entertaining negativity. Classic LeBron, addressing it without addressing it, staying above the fray while making sure everyone knows he saw it. His media supporters, though, they went into full damage control mode. Sports analysts who've built their career defending LeBron scrambled to discredit Bird's comments. They called him out of touch. They said he was jealous of the attention modern players get. They accused him of being part of the old head generation that refuses to admit the game has evolved. Larry Bird is entitled to his opinion, but let's remember he's from a different era with different rules. LeBron is playing against more skilled competition in a more sophisticated game, with more defensive schemes designed specifically to stop him. The idea that Bird's era was tougher is just nostalgia goggles. One prominent analyst said on their show, LeBron's fans flooded social media with highlight reels, statistics, and arguments about why Bird's take was objectively wrong. They pointed out LeBron's 8 straight finals appearances. They highlighted his finals performances where he averaged 30-point triple-doubles. They brought up the 2016 championship, coming back from 3-1 down against a 73-win team. Bird is just mad that LeBron is more famous, makes more money, and has more influence than he ever did? One viral tweet read, with hundreds of thousands of likes. But here's what was fascinating. Even among die-hard LeBron fans, there was a small but noticeable group who admitted Bird had some valid points. They didn't agree with calling LeBron a fraud, but they acknowledged that the super team criticism was legitimate. They admitted the finals record is a problem when you're arguing for GOAT status. They conceded that LeBron's approach to legacy management is sometimes calculated in a way that feels less authentic than Bird's generation. The generational divide this controversy exposed was real and raw. Older fans who grew up watching Bird, Magic, and Jordan largely agreed with Bird's assessment. They saw LeBron as talented but soft, strategic but lacking the killer instinct, great but not greatest. Younger fans who grew up with LeBron saw Bird as a hater trying to diminish someone who surpassed their generation's accomplishments. They viewed LeBron's team hopping as smart roster management, not weakness. They saw his longevity as proof of greatness, not evidence of playing in an easier era. And the casual fans in the middle? They were just confused about who to believe because both sides made compelling arguments. What made this different from previous LeBron controversies was that Bird's credibility made it impossible to completely dismiss.
When talking heads criticize LeBron, it's easy to write them off as trying to generate clicks. But when a three-time champion and three-time MVP who's universally respected by his peers says you're a fraud, that lands different. Some current players subtly weighed in. A few older veterans liked tweets that supported Bird's comments. A couple of young stars posted cryptic messages about respecting the legends who paved the way. Nobody wanted to directly take sides, but everyone had an opinion. The controversy revealed something uncomfortable. There's a significant portion of the basketball world, including people who really know the game, who agree with Larry Bird's assessment, even if they wouldn't phrase it as harshly. And that's what made LeBron's camp so nervous. Let's start with the super team issue, because this one is pretty much undeniable. LeBron did change the way star players approach team building, and whether you think that's good or bad, it's a fact. The decision wasn't just a TV special. It was a declaration that players would now control their destinies by choosing to team up rather than trying to beat each other. In Bird's era, that genuinely wasn't how things worked. Magic didn't leave the Lakers to join Bird in Boston. Jordan didn't bolt Chicago to team up with Patrick Ewing in New York. The mentality was different. You stayed with your team, you built with your team, and you beat the other great players. You didn't join them. LeBron can argue he was justified in leaving his original team because the front office didn't build around him properly. That's fair, but Bird's counter is simple. You're either good enough to elevate the players around you to championship level, or you're not the GOAT. And Bird did exactly that in Boston. He turned players like Dennis Johnson, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish into Hall of Famers by making everyone around him better. The finals record debate is more nuanced, but Bird's point still stings. If you lose 6 times in the championship series, does that really speak to greatness? Jordan never lost in the finals. Bird only lost once. Magic lost 4 times but won 5. LeBron's 4-6 record means he's lost more finals than he's won, and when you're arguing GOAT status, that matters. LeBron fans will say making the finals is better than losing earlier, and mathematically sure, but Bird's counter that getting there and failing repeatedly reveals a fundamental inability to finish the job, that hits different. Especially when you consider LeBron built super teams specifically designed to win championships and still lost more than half the time. The clutch performance debate is probably the most subjective, but Bird's reputation gives him authority here. Bird was known for taking and making the biggest shots in the biggest moments, often while telling defenders exactly what he was about to do. LeBron has had clutch moments absolutely.